Hello, this is Ignacy from Portal Games.
And Corey Thompson from Dice Tower Dish and Above Board TV.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 323, and we're recording this on June 13th, 2024. Board Games Insider is proud to be powered by Board Game Geek. Gentlemen, the band is back together again. It's so good to see all of us in one general place here in the interwebs. I'm in a weird place, but I'll talk about that in a second. This is not my home. This is not a hotel room. This is not a convention. I'll talk about that in a second. You guys doing okay?
Very
Doing
well,
pretty
yep.
good. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I am currently off in Los Angeles again. We're getting ready to film. Above Board is filming an ongoing series that is a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and our official name is Dungeon Call. So we are doing our campaign. We filmed a month ago. We're filming more episodes today and next week. We have special guests Becca Scott and Jason Charles Miller. It's gonna be amazing. We have so much tech set up. We have CGI and 10 spaces and the sound and we've got robotic cameras. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So look for it to drop before too long. We're doing final editing on the ones that we filmed last month. So very excited about that. I'm getting ready to go to Origins straight from LA. I think next week on the 19th, I'm flying to Origins. That'll be fantastic. Get to see everybody. And well, yeah, you too.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Guest
And
of honor.
we are finalizing our next crazy video where we are going to play board games covered with honeybees. And hopefully we're filming that early in July.
The things nightmares are made of
Uh,
are being
yeah,
done by Corey Thompson and Above Board TV.
we're also working on one where we play board games in the middle of a paintball arena during a huge fight.
But again, I used to play paintball religiously. You should have me out there playing paintball with you.
I don't
Shooting
know
at
when that
you.
one's happening. I'm just hearing about it now.
Shooting at you. I'll do that. That'll be fun. Ignacy, what's going on over in Poland?
Before I move into what's going on in Poland, two remarks. First, I recognize these are not your kallax, so 1 point for me for recognizing your flat. I was never in your house, but I'm recognizing your kallax. These are not your kallax, so good for
Correct.
me as an investigator. And then I figure out as an investigator why we have not been nominated for Golden Geek. There was not enough Slavic accent in this podcast.
I agree
Even
completely.
Bonacor on retired in his Corvetta doing these cruises. Life is amazing. Corey, amazing. Things are awesome. I'm in LA recording videos. Like people need some trouble in life. They need some people who are suffering, feeling pain, and you're just too happy for them. But guys, I'm back. I'm going to whine and complain, and we are finally win this Golden Gig Award. So I'm back.
I love it.
So
I love it, man.
so news of the week, we have AI Space Puzzle on a pre-order. This is our Gen Con release.
Ooh,
So
that
you
looks
can go to
pretty.
Portal Games US and check out the photos, videos, rulebook, etc., etc.
It's
Uh,
called AI Space Puzzle.
Correct. One player is playing a role of AI that has malfunction, and he needs to send a message to the rest of the players, but because it's a limited communication game, so he has only a few tokens to explain players what they need to do. So this is this rather fun game of deduction, and one player doing, "Oh, guys, why you are not understanding?" and the rest, what the hell is going on? So this is a very fun game. We hope to have a great demos at the convention and hopefully a good sales. So this is our Gen Con release. The game is on pre-order right now, as I said. And speaking on Board Game Geek, because we are now part of the Board Game Geek website, the Gen Con Geek list has been opened. So you can guys go to Gen Con Geek list, find AI Space Puzzle, and if you're interested, give it a like. We need to support small independent publishers. before Asmodee announces the new big game and everybody get crazy about them. So help a little, guys, and give some thumbs to AI Space Puzzle. So this is your task for today, dear listeners.
Excellent.
As for the pre-orders, the lesson I learned from Steven many years ago, I know my dates, my release of Robinson Crusoe Collector's Edition next week, June 20th, and then next month, 18th of July, Robinson Crusoe Book of Adventures, 2 great products for the Robinson Crusoe fans, so strong recommendation for that. And then I promised you some complaining. I am prepared. So here is the story. And the story is more interesting if you're watching a Podfather video channel, because I am now showing some props.
Okay.
So this week,
Oh,
believe it or not, the package from Portal Games US came to Poland, and they shipped finally all the awards that Portal Games was receiving in America, and they were held in our warehouse in America. And finally I said, send it to the office in Poland. So I received, finally I see for the first time my Dice Tower award for the Prêt-à-Porter. But I promised you some complaining, right?
Wait. So before you even complain, that's we're showing here the Dice Tower Award for Prêt-à-Porter from what year?
No idea.
Not
few
this
years ago.
year, several
few
years ago, and they finally, Portal Games US finally sent it to you. Okay, go ahead.
And I see it for the first time, and there is different designer on the plate. Like, this is not Ignacy why I was designer. So I want to complain. This is why we left Dice Tower. Like, they don't know. They like, what the hell is going on? So it's jokes aside, they put my developer on the plate as a designer. So now I need to send it back to Tom and say, Tom, I need a different plate here. I need Ignacy listed here. So that was my complaining moment.
Oh man,
complaining part of the podcast. So we are more Slavic and we have some chance to win some awards.
That is so funny.
I could probably arrange to have my name put on the plate.
I want my plate. This is my game. I spent many months designing.
Give me the dimensions. I have a friend of mine who actually cuts those things into metal. He has a laser cutter and he cuts those metal things. Anyway,
things are going amazing. Thank you for asking. We are preparing for Gen Con. Gen Con is big for us. We are getting back to Gen Con after a 1-year break. Chevy Dodd is our person in America who will manage everything. He gets the pallets, gets the product, gets the booth, gets the furniture. By the way, did you discuss that there is a changes in the Gen Con, that now the Fern has a complete control over the furniture and there's no caravans anymore? Do you know this stuff or no?
No.
We will talk behind the scenes and maybe we'll make it as a news for the next week, okay? Because things are happening and Steven knows what Fern means and caravan. It's not happening this year.
I know generally what you're talking about, but oh my God, that's going to cost
Sounds great.
It's really bad for publishers and exhibitors there. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll make a news story out of it. The mafia control of these conventions, and it's not really mafia, but they're almost like the mafia. It's crazy. All right, so over here at the Podfather of Gaming, as Ignacy points out, those are not my black calyxes behind me. I am here in Studio 3, I don't know if they call it that, at Dice Tower headquarters. And the reason that I'm here is that I'm here actually representing the World Series of Board Gaming. So, cool. 2 of the ring winners from 2023 flew in. Scott Kushner, who won 7 Wonders and went to the finals. He actually he came in 3rd, I believe, in the finals. And PJ, Patrick Marry Me, he won Cascadia. And then he lost in the semis. But they're both here, and essentially we're promoting the World Series of Board Gaming, and they're playing, of course, those 2 games at least, and others, against the Dice Tower people. So in the and I'd like you guys to go watch it, but I'll give you a little spoiler. So Scott just played 7 Wonders yesterday. And of course he won, but he won by only 1 point. So that was a great ending. It literally, Camilla was so close to beating him, which almost was going to be better for the World Series. I think, like, anybody could win, right? If you could beat the world champion, anybody could. But he did win. Then PJ played another game completely that was not part of the World Series, and he destroyed them. He just learned the game on the spot and destroyed them, which is great. He's just genius kind of player. And today, PJ's actually playing in Cascadia, the game that he won. So we'll see how he does. But I would highly recommend going over after this is over, if you'd like, to the Dice Tower YouTube channel and checking out the videos from this week specifically. Of course, the ones from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, where the guys from the World Series of Board Gaming are playing. And right now, literally as I'm recording this, they're being interviewed. So Tom is doing a nice interview with the two of them, talking about the whole event, which, as I've been talking about, is just so much fun. I highly recommend people checking it out. If you'd like to come, if you use the code PODFATHER when you buy your ticket, you're going to get a discount of it's $20 discount, which is not a great amount, but hey, it's $20 you can put on a hard 8, when you're in Vegas for the entire show. So that's why I'm here. Right after this, I go home for a few days, and literally I'm not going to be home for like 2 straight months almost. I go from thing to thing to thing. And the first thing is, as Corey mentioned, is going to be Origins. I'm one of the guests of honor. They have a lot of guests of honor, and I'm a very minor guest of honor there. They've got like Kevin Sussman from The Big Bang Theory. They've got like 3 people from what's that show that's like Star Trek, The Orville. Like, they've got all of these really huge media people. And then they got Bonacore, and they got Lang, and they got, all the usual suspects that they've also made. So we're going to be there. There's all these events there. There's beers with Bonacore. You can literally buy a ticket. You get like a couple of beers and appetizers, and we talk about beer if you like, or games, or whatever the heck you want to talk about. It's going to be on Wednesday. You can do that. I'm hosting the Origins Awards, which that's going to be wild. I've never done anything like that before. This is going to be just a cool thing. I'm moderating a panel on the 50th anniversary of D&D. My only claim to fame in D&D is that I've played D&D for about 45 years, at least. I mean, since high school, about 45, 46, 47 years. I'm going to be on this panel moderating it with luminaries, in D&D. Luke Gygax, right? Son of Gary Gygax, the thing. So Ignacy, yes, tell me, Ignacy, what are you thinking?
I wanted to say that I gave you a lesson that you need to be more Slavic. Instead, you are talking that you are doing a panel with Luke Gygax, doing a beer with fans. This is not being Slavic. This is being awesome. Like, you need to be less awesome.
Let me.
I will bring you a potato.
Let me try this. I keep telling Corey I'm an actor, so let me try this. It's going to be really hard next week. I've got a lot of work to do at Origins, and I'm going to be flying basically directly from there to Europe to spend time in Barcelona and then get on a cruise. and then I have to spend another week in Italy with Paula. So if you want me to be Slavic, there you go.
We have a chance for the Golden Geek. Yes.
There we go.
Yep, there you go. Drama. That's what we need, is drama.
Drama is good. All right, everybody. That's enough. Let's get to the event deck. All right. So we have so many interesting things to talk about this week in the news, plus the questions. We're going to be doing both, and they're great. The one thing that we're not going to continue this week with is what is being called Meeplegate. So we've covered this now twice, 2 episodes ago, where we told the story of what happened on GameFound. And then last week, we talked a little bit about a development that somebody in the U.S. has trademarked Meeple for beneficent reasons. But we have reached out.
It's selfish. I want candy.
You want candy. We have reached out to Hans im Gluck to get some questions answered. And we happen to know that Board Game Wire is on top of this. So, and we're sharing information with them. They're good friends of ours out in the UK. So we're going to get all this information and probably address this much more extensively on next week's episode. So stay tuned. Remember, we're investigative reporters. We really are. I mean, I've spent actually more time on Meeplegate than I have on any other like thing over the past week having to do a board game. So
you never interviewed me.
We haven't, but you're here.
Vice versa.
So we will have more on Meeplegate starting next week. And we're always going to be honest with you guys out there. It's interesting story. We're going to give you the facts and you make decisions on your own. But the really big story that's happened this week, the first big story, is that the Essen Spiel, the largest board game convention in the world, has sold out of their exhibitor space for the first
just
time
amazing.
ever. This is a huge to do. Their exhibitor space is 737,000 plus square feet. And that was converted from square meters. And they have 190,000 turnstile attendees every year. The fact that they have sold out of all 6 of their halls, and they actually technically could expand, but I think this year they decided not to.
Now,
It was
that's
amazing.
interesting. How many halls? Because I don't think I've ever seen, there's 8 halls physically there, and I don't think I've ever seen all the halls being used.
Correct.
Last year, one hall was used specifically just for lining up people and getting in.
So I can address that. So
Thank you.
for those people who either know the show or don't know the show, the halls that are used are halls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is a hall 7. There is a hall 8. What do they do with those halls right now? Hall 8, which is the closest to the west entrance, I think.
One of the entrances.
Ovest, is that west? One of the, I think that's it. Closest to the west, they use for their security, right? Everyone's got to go through a metal detector, that kind of stuff, search the bags. That's a security area. And then hall 7, they literally use to just bring everybody in before the show starts, put them into this massive area, a full hall, and then when the show opens, everyone starts slowly coming in. Theoretically, they could have opened hall 7 for more exhibitors and then did something outside, right? For their keeping the people moving. Maybe this year they just wanted to do this much, and then next year they can do more. Maybe. I don't know. But the fact is that they sold out for the first time ever. Board gaming and conventions are just big. They're back. The conventions are back. We have a quick quote here from Carol Rapp, who's the managing director of Mers Verlag, who runs the show. We knew quite early on that it would be fuller than 2023, but just before the deadline, we received a large number of registrations. So kudos to them for doing this. I think that's just great news for the hobby.
Gamers tend to be perpetually late.
Yes, just short commentary from me, because to just once again said what Steven said. For the first time in the history, like, I'm exhibiting at the Essen Spiel 2007, so it's like, I don't know how many years, and there was always, you could see that there is some part of the hall that there was a space for more publishers. Like, we always knew that there's always be space in this Essen, and it was one of the big difference between Gen Con. Like, we always talk on this podcast that there is so many people who want to exhibit at Gen Con, but there is no space. You don't have a Gen Con points, you don't have a space. It's impossible to become exhibitor at Gen Con, but Essen is different because it has an infinite space for the first time in the history. There's no infinite space. Very interesting. Like, I didn't know this news before recording, so I learned something, and I'm very happy that I secured my space earlier.
Do you have the same amount of space as last year? Same
as the last year? Yes, we try to have the same space in the same space of the hall. Yep.
Right. And another interesting thing about the layout of the space there is that hall 1 is quote unquote the main space, and then 2 and 3 are sort of part of it. That's like the hobby gaming, and then it gets more to children's gaming, young people.
Well,
like
that was
out
as of
6.
last year. They actually themed the halls to different types. They were a little more random in previous years, but with the new ownership of Essen Spiel, they've actually been trying to theme the halls, which
gotta wonder if
seems like it worked pretty well.
I think it worked pretty well. You gotta wonder if it's going to continue like that, or because there were some people saying, "Well, should this be like?" There were some complaints about it. Everyone complains about something, but
all the publishers were lost because you were used to things being in certain places, and all of a sudden they weren't.
But me
so
as
it was
a publisher,
new, and new always brings complaints, especially from the Slavic community.
Yeah, absolutely. But we, as a protagonist, we didn't receive any communication about the changes compared to the last year. Like, we think that it's the same space, the same layout, the same area of the hall that we are still in the gamers hall. So I think they continue.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if both of you know, this will be the first year that I actually miss Essen Spiel since 2011 or something.
not coming?
2010.
I'll be there enough for the two
You'll
of us.
cover it. I can't make it because my niece, my eldest niece, is getting married, and she didn't consult with her favorite uncle, about this
Has
date.
she considered getting married in Germany?
Well, I should have asked her. Bring the whole place out to Germany. We can use Hall 7 for her wedding, right? Easy.
Absolutely. I can make some calls.
Okay.
I want to make announcement.
Yes.
This October, very important event will happen for the first time in the history. There will be a recording of Board Games Insider without Steven Bonacor, just me and Corey. Look forward for this episode, this amazing episode, just two of us.
Yeah.
Imagine how fantastic the episode
This
will
will be the best. And this is how you win Golden Gig Award. Like, it's just, this is like,
Oh, the awards will
sense.
come piling in.
Oh my God, this is amazing. This epic episode.
I hate both
Looking
of you
forward
so much.
already.
Why do I put up with this abuse? All right, let's move on here. So we also have, speaking of Spiel, now it's Spiel des Jahres. They've announced the nominees for the Spiel des Jahres and the Kenner Spiel des Jahres and the Kinder Spiel des Jahres. And Corey, I'd like you to start addressing this because for the most part, I haven't played many of these games. So I want to hear your take on
first of all, I mean, this may not seem like such a big deal, but this, I believe, is the first year that all three categories were announced at the same time.
That is correct.
Usually Kinder is announced early and then the other two are announced later. For the Spiel, we have Captain Flip, which is from Remo Consadori, Paolo Mori, one of my favorite designers, and the publisher is Playpunk. This is exciting because Playpunk is the new publishing company from Antoine Bauza and Thomas Riposte, who's one of the Riposte founders.
Great.
So this is the first title from this new kind of superstar publisher. We've also got In the Footsteps of Darwin from Gregory Gerard and Matthew Verdier, and the publisher is Sorry We Are French. And we've got Sky Team from Luc Ramon and Scorpion Masqué, which is a two-player airplane simulation. Fantastic title. Those are the Spiel nominees. Kenner Spiel, which are supposed to be the more advanced titles. We have Daybreak from Matt Leacock and Matteo Menepace, and the publisher is CMYK. So fantastic title, Daybreak. It's kind of the climate change pandemic. We've got Guild of Merchant Explorers from Matthew Dunstan and Brett Gilbert, published by AEG, and in Germany it's now published by Skellig. This is a little bit of an older title for North American players, but again, the Spiel only goes to games that are published in Germany. So it's been nominated this year for the Kenner Spiel because it is now being published in Germany, and I love this title. Finally, there's Ticket to Ride Legacy: Legends of the West from Alan Moon and Rob Davio and Matt Leacock, published by Days of Wonder. Big gorilla title, the gorilla in the room. So this is a really exciting lineup.
So I'd like to make mention that I've only played one of the nominees of this Spiel des Jahres and only one of the nominees from the Kenner Spiel des Jahres, and that's Sky Team, which I think is a brilliant game, and Ticket to Ride Legacy, which is also was a fantastic experience. I thought that Sky Team was a slightly bigger game than we've seen in the Spiel des Jahres.
And this is something
category.
I was going to comment on, is it seems like they're mixing up the categories year after year. I think Darwin and Sky Team might be a little heavy for Spiel. And I think Guild of Merchant Explorers might be a little light for Kenner Spiel.
It's interesting.
So it's an interesting mix here. And we've seen it in previous years. I believe Scout was nominated on Kenner.
No. Scout was Spiel des Jahres with Cascadia, which won.
My Detective was a Kenner. My Detective was Kenner. It has 2 pages of rules.
There's been such a strange mix.
But Detective is
what's considered advanced and what's considered
Detective
basic.
is a harder game to.
There's a lot of involvement when you are playing. Yes, lots of notes and thinking. Yes, but in terms of the rule book, it's like just read a card and have fun.
Yeah. So they have and I'm gonna just advocate for the jury of the Spiel des Jahres, which I'm finally pronouncing correctly, consistently Spiel des Jahres, not Spiel des Jahres. That they have a really hard job. I mean, gamers are very unforgiving. I said that Kabanga would be nominated here. I'm not getting angry that it wasn't. It should have been nominated or at least been recommended. But they have a hard job. They get hundreds of games that they have to consider and play, hundreds, maybe more than, who knows, 1,000. It's crazy. And they've got to pick 3 games, 3 to nominate, which is
And to be
insane.
fair, let's go ahead and list that in the Spiel des Jahres category, there were recommended several titles. There was Harmonies, Pass Nicht, Phantom Inc., which is fantastic, Schutz If You Can, Trekking Through History, and Trio. And Trio was the rumored shoe-in. Everybody thought Trio was going to be nominated for Spiel. So it's interesting that it's not nominated, it's on the recommended. And for Kenner, recommended was Beer Pioneer, Botanicus, Forest Shuffle, and Ritual.
Very cool.
Should also say that the Kinderspiel, the children's games, are Fluffy Valley, Lecker Lava, and Die Nadel in Heuhaufen. Those are the recommendeds.
Right.
The nominated are Große Kleine Edelsteine, Die Magician Schlüssel, and Taco Kitten Pizza.
I wait for them to have English titles because they're unpronounceable in English.
Well, children's games are so much more popular in Germany than they are
yeah.
in the US that oftentimes the Kinderspiel
Don't even make it.
Don't even make it across.
Which is a shame. So that's it. There was an all Spiel news, Spiel the convention and Spiel des Jahres the awards.
And Meeplegate. So all the news were from Germany this week.
And
Originated
Meeplegate
in Germany.
One crazy American.
Let's get over to strategy and tactics. All right, guys. So we have Mad Halfling. He's Mad-Halfling. He's always contributes a lot. And this question is like directly almost for Ignacy. It's a little bit of me and Corey, maybe. What's your favorite cheese and respectively tea, wine, or beer? So Ignacy, what are your 2? I mean, you're gonna give me a cheese and a tea. Corey's probably gonna do a cheese and a wine, and maybe I'll do a cheese and a beer.
Of course, I will not disappoint anyone who is a long listener to the podcast. I will give you the most boring answer that can be because I'm a very boring person. So yes, I just eat a regular plastic cheese, like I don't know, like no French, no I'm just super boring in that.
With
so
one plain potato.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of the tea, the same. I hate all these flavored teas. I just English breakfast and that's it. I'm the most boring person on the planet in terms of what I eat and what I drink.
You really might be the most boring person in all of gaming.
Yes, I am. But I have an amazing wife, Mary, who saves me.
But your wife is amazing. She's not boring, and she keeps you doing things. That's awesome.
Yep.
Corey.
Oh man. So I could answer all of these.
Well,
my favorite cheese is Gorgonzola Dolce, which is a soft blue that's very sweet with caseous crystals and an apricot-like sweet fruity tone.
God.
My favorite tea are compressed pu'er pellets, which are a fermented compressed tea. It's not a flavored tea. It's a black tea from China, very, very dark, almost jet black with a smooth woody flavor, not too strong. My favorite wine, and this is a sad story, it's Madrigal Family Winery, who just announced this week they are closing
over in Calistoga, which is next to Napa Valley.
So I have some emails out to see if maybe I can buy their remaining inventory. And then my favorite beer is a Brazilian black beer called Zingu.
Zingu. I know that beer very well.
That is my favorite beer.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, you better save me some of that Madrigal wine, which is kind of magical. Pun intended.
So sad about that.
So for me, my favorite cheese, it might be just a nice smoked Gouda. I do love cheeses. They're just all good. And I love nice stinky cheeses. I love the blues. I mean, Give me good, high quality cheese, and I'm just going to say yes, thank you. I'll take some more. I don't drink a lot of tea, but when I do, Captain Picard has made me very much a tea Earl Grey hot drinker. So I do like Earl Grey teas. Wine, I'm a big fan of the Napa Cabernet Sauvignons. I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd like to try Screaming Eagle one time in my life, which I never will because it's
It makes a fine
$5,000
sangria.
$5,000 a bottle, Screaming Eagle. But Opus One is just amazing, and it is very expensive. But I mean, if I can really narrow it down to something that I can afford to drink at any given time, I'm a member over at Reynolds Winery. They make some great stuff. Patland, Corey and I visited them as well on the last trip. These are very boutique wineries, but they're just really good. Those are some of my favorites. And beer is really hard because I've literally, if you look at me, if you want to friend me on Untapped, the app, you'll see that I have tried over 5,000, I believe it is at this point, or 4,500 unique beers in my life. And it's probably more because I only started using the app like 8 years ago. I would probably, pick IPA as my general favorite category. And last night I just had a High Life IPA from Cigar City, which literally maybe it's at least one of the best IPAs in the United States, in the world. Phenomenal. So very hard things to answer, but there you go. Adrian H., who is from Australia. He's at Crickety the Cat. Stephen. Crikey the cat. Sorry, not Crickety. Crikey the cat. Stephen, did you make the jump to publishing because you knew or hoped it would be a successful business-wise, or because board gaming was a greater passion / calling? Yes is the answer to that question. Both, right? You shouldn't just do something because you don't think it's going to be successful, a business. I would never just have opened a business or invested in something because I didn't think it was going to become successful. I did it because I thought it could be, and because it was much greater passion than being, a project manager in IT, which rewarded me well, but follow your dream at that point, and Stronghold Games did very well. So there's my answer. Both. What is Corey's origin story, and why the switch from being a vet to board gaming?
Vet? What?
You don't know that he was a veterinarian? Not
No.
Veteran. Veterinarian. Corey, well,
No,
tell us.
I didn't know.
Tell Ignacy the story. Oh, we just lost Corey.
He didn't want to answer the question, or what? It was too difficult question to answer.
That is so funny. So what we'll do here.
That is so funny.
That is really hysterical that literally at that moment we lost him. Ignacy, we'll go to your part of the question because Crikey the cat asked all of us, and then hopefully Corey's going to dial back in if we get lucky. Ignacy, through the difficult times in your business journey, have you thought of doing something else, or is designing games just too perfect a career to ever consider giving up?
Today I'm on my Slavic path. Definitely designing games or doing games is absolutely not a perfect career. I wholeheartedly hate it. I happen to be good at designing games, and I designed a couple of good games, so I was keep doing that for years. But definitely it is not as dream job as you can think. As for if I was thinking about doing something else, I said it in many interviews about the history of Portal Games. There was a couple of moments in the history of the company when I was basically bankrupt, and I was considering what to do, either borrow money or and try again, or just give up. So yeah, there was moments when I was almost giving up doing Portal Games and trying to earn money in a more reasonable way. So yeah, absolutely. Designing games is absolutely not too perfect. It's far from perfect. And I see the rest of the question is if we advise going into board gaming industry. This is a very risky industry.
Yes.
This is, of course, there are some big companies who have money, but for all these independent small companies, it's not a dream job. That's for sure.
I have to read it the way Adrian Craigie, the cat, said, he says, I know you are not career advisors. And if you were career advisors, you are not our career advisors. Should we quit our jobs to do something in the board game industry? And as Ignacy just implied, it's the short answer is no. I mean, don't. And let's give some reasons, right? I mean, number one reason, if you've got successful career, why try to jump into a passion thing because you already got your job, if you're doing successfully, you're doing well, why risk everything to come into an industry which will pay you less money, right? I mean, almost invariably, this is a low paying industry because publishers and everybody knows people want to be in this industry because of the passion. Having said that, you can follow your dreams. If the opportunity presents itself, then sure, it's possible. And if to give a little more color on me, right? I started the company. The company started doing extremely well. And there was a point where I couldn't do both. So the company was doing so well, Stronghold Games was doing so well that I said, okay, I can now leave this to do games. I can leave IT to do board gaming. And it just so happened, literally at that same moment in time, Terraforming Mars came out, and the rest, of course, is history.
If I may add, because I'm right now, technically I am right now at the Portal Games retreat. My whole company is now at a training session. I just came here to record the podcast. I'm going back to the retreat, and I just had almost 2 hours seminar for my employees at Portal Games, explaining them what each of the employees is doing in the company. So so the whole team understands the purpose and the function and the task and goals of each employee in the company. And I was literally going from one person to another person, telling, this is editor. His task is to proofread all our rule books and all our materials. And if he makes a mistake, the whole Facebook, the whole board game geek will just explode. He is like a sapper on a minefield. Here is our production guy. The moment the Chinese factory make some mistake or didn't do a game in the time or didn't do a right sample, he's in trouble. If we have a mistake in production of the game, he's like in a minefield. He is a Grzegorz, he's our transport guy. Every single day he's in contact with the shipping companies from China, reading about the changing of the prices and increase of the problems with containers. And I was going from one person to another person, just showing how much stress and pressure there is on every position in the board game company. So yes, we love board games. Yes, we play test board games. Yes, this is our passion. But basically, it's a regular job that has as much pressure as in your regular job. The difference is that we as an industry as a whole are very close, and Steven is a perfect example, very close to the end customer. Like we are very open. We always say in our outro, you can talk to us on a Twitter. So if you're a producer of a TV or cars, you are not have a Facebook groups that attack you personally. So this is a very difficult industry because you work as hard as in different industries, but your customer is talking to you directly because we are so open and transparent, and we love our fans. But there's no friction between us and the customer.
And much smaller, right? Yeah, and that's part of why the consumer of games we're such a small industry, they can get directly to us, or at least directly inside the company to somebody of decision making.
If not, this pressure and the stress of the employees. So yes,
you're not talking to somebody at Samsung about the fact that your TV just blew out. It's just not happening, right? So it's very, very, very different and interesting. Let's take at least one more, because this question, by the way, Corey has a power outage in LA right now. That's why he can't come back. So
this is Corey going Slavic. I appreciate that. Problems. We need drama.
So the funny thing is, if this was yesterday that we were recording, Florida is under an extreme weather event going on over the last 2 days. It's actually okay today, but yesterday, wow, we had 20 inches of rain in South Florida. I mean, it's a crazy amount of rain, flooding all over the place down here. So it was not a hurricane, but it was a huge weather event. And we had power outages up north in Boynton Beach, where I live. And we didn't get any down here, but we could have. Interesting. Anyway, so Jeremiah Brommer often also gives us questions for this. He's at Jeremiah Brahma. He says, with the rise of Postmark Games, who run Kickstarters, where the only pledge levels are print and play games, do you think this will become mainstream, where major publishers will release a game only to print and play? So, Ignacy, do you ever think that that's going to happen?
I have a very short answer, and I guess you know what the answer is. No, people are lazy. We as a customers, whatever we buy TV or we buy a car or we buy a board game, we have our money and we want to have offered a solution that is comfortable for us, and we are very likely to pay $30 to not spend the whole night with the scissors cutting out the board and cards, etc. Absolutely no. The whole history of civilization, the whole history of human is people are lazy, and the companies grow if they can solve their problems and make a job work for them.
Yeah. And the reason why it was important to take this question is because of our playtesting question from last week, which we'll get to in a second. And yeah, that was a very one-off type of thing. Sometimes publishers will just throw out a print and play game because, they're not going to do it, so they just put it out there for you. But no, I do not think that this is going to be a trend at all. I don't think we're ever going to see real mainstream publishers doing this on any scale that makes sense. There's no
preparing prototype is like a few hours of cutting. Besides, it will be ugly. But even if you have the best skill in scissors and glue, etc., and you make it perfect, it will be like 2 evenings of doing that. You rather pay $50 and have it ready.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Exactly. All right. With that, let's get over to this very related question in our playtesting segment. So last week, our buddy Corey, he asked us, he asked you guys out there, have you ever assembled a print and play game? How often do you assemble print and play games? And with the caveat on this is this does not count a print and play for a prototype, which is what designers and publishers basically do all the time. I mean, probably in your office, they're doing at least one a week, just putting together another thing that can be tested. There's something that you found at a convention, something somebody sent you, via your contact form constantly. And obviously I've done it a million times and you guys have done it a million times. So the forum had some interesting answers. We got a bunch for this one. Let's see. We have Peter Wogan. He's often given us some answers to things. Thank you, Peter. It's good buddy. He says, there was a Star Wars fan-made mod that I needed to own, but typically I'm only printing off prototypes of other designers' work if I'm working on their games and there's not a tabletop simulator or other online version of the game to reference, because Peter does game development and design as well. He also has mentioned, also Dr. Thompson is benevolent, and he's stoked to hear about that Meeple TM is safe in the U.S. market. More on that, Peter. More on Meeplegate next week. Ignacy, did you find any that you particularly liked?
Yeah, sure. But besides, I read the comments from our fans. I think it was more popular before, when there was some variant for the game or some illegal fan-created mod for the game with your beloved IP put on a Board Game Geek. But these days, when people are using Tabletop Simulator, they can use these mods and these variants of the games in an electronic version instead of doing scissors. I myself, I was considering very deeply back then printing Dune before it was released, because it was the legendary, famous Dune, and you could download files from Board Game Geek, but I never did it. And as for your answers, our listeners, Aaron said, I have a substantially sized Google Drive folder with print and play games that I've accumulated over the years. Stop. Not one of them has actually been printed. So yes, he's believing that he will find the time, that he will do it one day, and now he has like 200 games and he will never do it, because yes, we are lazy, because we have games that are printed by the Chinese manufacturers on our shelf and we don't need to do anything else. And then Alex says, I love making print and plays. This activity brings another physical component to the already physical hobby. I don't paint minis, but I feel like print and play scratches a similar itch. And this is very interesting. So he does it because he likes to work with the paper, he likes to work with the glue, he finds it as a part of the hobby, and I fully understand it. I'm a huge player in the miniature games, so like I do a terrain, I do the scenery, I paint minis, and I value this time of preparing for the actual game. And Alex is doing the same with the board games and card games. He's preparing for himself print and play game, and then he enjoys playing it. So but this is like a Alex, sorry, you are crazy, but I appreciate that.
I did see like what I would consider a trend here that a lot of people, Mario Sousa and Peter Haraldson, and I think basically Chris Dupree, all said that they've done them quite a few in the past, but not so much recently. I guess, and kind of as you implied, is you have so much content that you can just go buy,
Yep.
and it takes hours to do it right, to make it look good, and unless there's some amazing buzz on this game that's a print and play only, why bother
But
go do all that trouble instead of just go buy another cool game that you like?
yeah, but speaking about the buzz, there was a few years ago, there was a big buzz about the print and play game on Board Game Geek called Black Sonata. So of course I jumped on the hype for the Black Sonata. Black Sonata. Yes, it was about William Shakespeare, something.
Sonata.
Yes,
Got it.
I printed the game from the files from Board Game Geek and never cut them and prepared the cards. Like there was I was hyped, but I was also lazy. So this is
Very,
it.
very cool. So this week, Corey, who's always giving us great questions, he actually is putting this question out for the fans. And it is, if 3 friends get together, it's pretty easy to find a game to play. If 8 show up, you split the group and play 2 different games. So what is your least favorite number of gamers to host purely because of player count and other logistical issues? That's a pretty interesting question. Ignacy, do you have an answer? Like, so, right? X number of people show up, and I like, oh, I hate this number.
6 is terrible number. Like for the 5, you still can find a good, because of course when there's a big group of the players, you just play code names, you play the party game, you have a fun, it is cool. But if you want to play the serious game, like a Euro game, for the 5, there is couple of games that you can play. With the 6, I only have on my shelf basically Ethnos, which is a brilliant game from Paolo Mori. I strongly recommend, but there is not many games for the 6 players that are challenging, not party games. So 6 is a terrible number. I hate when I have a 5 friends coming over.
Well, with 6, you can go 3 and 3, right? And that's
No,
usually,
people are coming to your house if you
yeah,
have a party and say, "Hey guys, you will play the kitchen because there's a second table," and go there. Like, no. So I put it Ethnos on the table, which is brilliant,
yeah,
and then there is problem. There is a Citadels. We all love Citadels, but for the 6 players, it's like a 2-hour game
no.
suddenly. Yeah,
I do not like Citadels anymore,
yeah.
and especially because of what you just said. That game does not
2
deserve to be a
hours.
2 hour.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you know what the answer for me now that I'm thinking about this, I think the answer is going to be 5. And the reason is you can't go 3 and 2 because they're 2-player games, and you want to keep the group together. And 5 is a very limited number of games. In fact, on the Quad, right, the show that I do on Board Game Geek now, we literally took that as one of our topics: best games to play with 5 players, which I said was my pick in the category was Amun-Re by Reiner Knizia, which I believe is his best game. I think at least up there. I think I love that game, and I love it at 5 players because every region on the board, which is Egypt with the Nile running through, gets taken up on both of the eras of the game. So 5 will be my number because you got to find a 5-player game. You can't do a 2 and a 3. People want to play together, and a 2 is not so good. So there you go. There you have it. So everybody out there, we're asking you right now what you think is your least favorite player count to host in your home or wherever you're getting together. Ignacy, if he remembers how to do this, is creating a thread right now on Board Game Geek that will ask you this question. So please go to our guild on Board Game Geek, find our playtesting thread with this question, and we'll maybe address your answer later. Now, in the meantime, let's get a final scoring. So here in final scoring, I'm hearing a little bit more back from Corey. His power is back, but the internet is dead. He ain't coming back. So poor Corey. But anyway, thank you so much all for listening, and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcast, or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. Do you want to be part of this podcast? You can just ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment, or answer our question to you from our play testing segment by going over to the guild on Board Game Geek. I know you can find it, and look for the thread with these questions. Check out our websites, which are portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, dicetowerdish.com, and play2zgames.com. And we're all over social media, so please interact with us. As Ignacy said, on Facebook, please like our pages, which are /BoardGamesInsider, /PortalGamesUS, /PodfatherGaming, and /Play2ZGames. You can speak directly to Ignacy and Steven and Corey on Twitter, which is X these days, and Instagram at PortalGamesUS, at PodfatherGaming, at Dice Tower Dish, and the very active YouTube channels are Portal Games Studios, The Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. On TikTok, Ignacy continues to dance, Portal Games US. We really love to see you guys at an upcoming show. Corey and I will be at Origins. I didn't even know, but Ignacy, now you're going to be at Gen Con?
And personally, no. Only Shelly is
Oh, come on. Why would you not show up?
because I'm afraid of flying.
Well, yes, because you're Slavic. Okay.
Yeah.
Send Mary. So much more interesting than you anyway.
That's for sure.
So please, if you do see us at Origins next week, we would love to talk to you. Just stop in. There's going to be a number of times where I'm going to be at a certain place, like just to hang out, things like that. Corey will be walking around. I'll be walking around. We'll be hanging out. So just come and check us out. We'll be love to talk to you about whatever. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want your podcast edited by Joshua, you can reach out to him to discuss that at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. And that great voice you hear doing the intro, the outro, the in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Ignacy, that brings us to the end of yet another wonderful episode where your company and your commentary was integral to making it work, because I wasn't going to finish the podcast alone, and God knows when Corey will ever get his internet back. So tell me.
You're right. When if he got disconnected, you'll be alone here. Oh my God, I saved the podcast. I'm so proud of myself. I did it again. I'm amazing.
You can't say, you have to say, I saved the podcast, but I did not have fun doing it. Slavically. Any news, any special words, any hints of things coming up that you want to mention?
If we manage to record next week with me, and I will try to do it, we will be recording during the playtesting session of the new expansion for the famous game Nemesis, because I have a playtest session for the next Thursday. And if the timing will be okay, I can use the camera and show maybe your viewers some super secret stuff. So look forward for the next episode of Board Game Insider. And remember, I'm the winner of the Dice Tower instead of what they are saying here on this plate. And go to Golden Geek, go to Board Game Geek and vote for this small game from Poland. AI Space Puzzle is brilliant. It's very fun, and we need your votes for the
yes.
Geek List. Thank you for today.
AI Space Puzzle by Portal Games. Can't wait for
Correct.
it. Thank you, everybody out there. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.